Today I'm going to go over 10 songs that deeply impacted me as a musician and as a songwriter and as a person. And I think you're going to be a little surprised at some of them. So before I get into it, hit like, give us a subscribe, hit the little bell, do all the things. So I'm a kind of person that I hate when someone says, what's your favorite song? What's your favorite movie? I can't do it. I can't pick just one. Every time I have an interview with someone, they go, hey, give us your top 5, this and that. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't give you my favorites. But what I can do is just off the top of the dome, I want to give you 10 songs that I think really impacted me as a musician and as a songwriter. And they're not in any sort of order. I tried to think chronologically, but some of these are definitely out of order. The first one that I can say was a huge impact on my life and on my creative growth was Jim Croce's You Don't Mess Around with Jim. And I was real little when I first heard this. My dad was a huge fan of Jim Croce, and he has transferred that to me. I'm always in awe every time I put on Croce, how much I love these songs and how they continue to be timeless. But most people would say Operator or Time in a Bottle. For me, it was You Don't Mess with Jim. Because essentially it's a blues song. And I think early on, before I even knew what the blues was, this resonated with me in a way that I couldn't quite explain at the time. And I think the nice thing about this song is lyrically, it's not very complex, but there's a nice twist that, there's this dude who's got this reputation for being a badass, and everyone's like, hey, you don't mess with that guy. But by the end of the song, it's flipped and it's like, you don't mess with Slim instead of Jim because, Jim got what was coming to him because he was cheating people. So anyway, that's the first one that came to mind. The next one, and it kills me to say this, but this was a big part of the reason that I wanted to become a musician. One of the first albums I ever had was Kiss Alive. And yeah, I know now that it wasn't actually live. The only thing that really was live was the crowd, some of it, and the drums, because you can't go back and redo the drums. At least they couldn't at that time. But once they got to the song 100,000 Years, it has that massive drum solo. And hearing this dude off by himself, just jamming and throwing down and doing some really cool stuff, and hearing the crowd respond to that, that lit something in me. And from that moment, I knew I had to be a drummer. And I would sit in my room and just bang with some drumsticks on the bed and, on different, things in the room, pretending to be Peter Criss doing that big drum solo. Over time, I realized that, there's not as much glamour in being a drummer and there's not as much freedom on stage. So that's part of the reason I switched and became a songwriter and became a guitar player and ultimately a singer. So those are the first two. The third one that popped into mind was a song by a band called Live, which admittedly is the worst band name ever. And I know when they started the band, they thought it was a cool name. But in retrospect, they have to feel like complete idiots. Because once the internet happened, suddenly, how do you search up live music? Everything but you comes into play. But they had a song called Operation Spirit. And there was something about it. It had that early 80s funk bass vibe. It was raw energy. And I remember the video for this song on MTV. It was these 3 or 4 scrawny kids without their shirts on, running around the beach or whatever. And it was just like absolute insanity. It was just a bunch of kids just being kids. And there was something about that spoke to me about the raw energy of music. And from that point, it was, I embraced the chaos that good music can be. So yeah, Operation Spirit is definitely had an impact on me as a musician. Now, around that same time, there was another song that came out, and this song didn't just affect me, it completely rewrote the rules on what a band could do. And it was a song called Blind from the band Korn. And again, there's not a lot of blues stuff in here, but I think the message was still there. there was a rawness to this whole album. This whole album was like musical therapy. It was insane how raw emotionally this record was. And if you've never listened to the first Korn record, like definitely, plan out some time where you don't have to do anything afterward. We were driving when I first heard it. One of the guys in my band at the time, Stillwater Black, put this album on. He's like, you got to check out this album. There's nothing like it out there. And we're driving on the freeway out to LA to go record. By the time we got there, we had gone through this dude's whole emotional, psychological trauma that we were exhausted by the time we got there. And I didn't want to record at that point. I don't remember how good the session was, but definitely it had an impact on us emotionally listening to this album from start to finish. I chose Blind just because it's maybe the most palatable song of that album. I think Daddy was the one that has the most impact emotionally for me, but Blind was the thing that starts that album and it sets the tone from the top. So that's why I chose Blind. The next one, I guess we'd say the fifth song that I came up with was Fade to Black from Metallica. It's off the Ride the Lightning album. And I can remember in junior high, my friend down the street, David, he was into like the harder stuff, into the more thrash metal and that stuff. And by that point, I was still listening to Kiss and, some of these other more pop influenced bands. And he used to talk about Metallica and I would just kind of laugh and say, okay, dude, because it was like punk, especially their early albums. It was very punk inspired. And I remember he went one day to go take a shower and then he was going to come back. And I was kind of hanging out in his room and I put it on just because I was going to, like, oh yeah, this is really cool, dude. And, I listened to it sort of out of chance and it got to Fade to Black and I'm like, okay, I get it now. I get what this dude is about. And I get what this band is what makes them awesome. So yeah, Fade to Black was one of those turning points for me that it's like, you can have a wide range of vibe and a wide range of intensity in the same album, in the same band. So it's kind of like you don't have to do all one thing. You can definitely find a lot of levels. And that, I think, was a turning point for that band as well. They didn't have anything on the first record like that. All right, moving ahead. Sixth tune for me that changed me as a musician was Crossfire by Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I know the obvious answer would be like, Texas Flood or Voodoo Child or any of these other songs that he did. But for me, Crossfire there was something raw about it, but also very slick. And I think it was a nice marriage of the two things that I love about music, all within a blues framework. And it also it hit me that blues songs don't have to be 1-4-5. They can be bluesy and still be part of that blues genre. And for me, that Crossfire tune was amazing. It had everything. It had a nice, solid, repetitious groove. It had a cool bridge. Top notch. One of the best Stevie Ray Vaughan songs ever written. Maybe not one of his best guitar songs as far as the solo goes, but it's great. It's a great tune. But yeah, that opened my eyes quite a bit. Now I'm going to go back to the heavier stuff. For me, one of the songs that jumped out was Killing in the Name by Rage Against the Machine. And I think there was something about the raw chaos of this, but also the very direct message they were trying to send. And that hit home for me, that music isn't just fun. That, and in a lot of these, you'll see that in these songs. Music can have a message and it can have a purpose bigger than just a song. I think there was something that was about everything that Rage did that wanted to not only affect a change in society, but a change within their listeners, within their fans. And that's huge for me, to want to affect people on a level that's beyond just, this is a cool song and it affects me on an emotional level, but on an intellectual level, as well. All right, moving on. This one seems like a no-brainer, but when I was in junior high, Purple Rain had a dramatic impact on me. And I think there was something, not just that it was in the movie, but I think there's something about it looking back now, because it was allegedly recorded live. I think Purple Rain tapped into that 100,000 years thing that I got from that Kiss record. And it was raw, and it was very slick at the same time. But I think there's a nebulousness to the lyrics that is really cool, is really impactful for me. And then again, at the end, when you've got the crowd singing along to this impossibly high riff that he's singing, and it's just, I think it is a perfect song. Is it the deepest song ever? No. I think he's got stuff that is much deeper than that, but I think it is a perfect song. The construction of it, everything is so great. Even the chord choices are different than what you would expect. Like it. I like it a lot. Speaking of different, the ninth tune is kind of a newer song. I mean, it's not new at this point, but it's newer for me as an old head. And I get a lot of flack for suggesting this band a lot, but I think that they made the perfect album of the 2000s in every way. Production, songwriting, performance. It is absolutely spot on, perfect from note one to note end, to the last note. And that's Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. And I know some people are like, oh God, this again. No, I mean, it is in my opinion, the best album of the entire 2000s decade. But there's something about Welcome to the Black Parade that is almost theatrical. And you can see that they were trying to do something bigger than just an album. They were doing a concept album. And I think they were trying to do something that isn't just relying upon these five guys making a tune. And there is a hugeness to this song that it almost became an anthem. You sing the first two lines to millennials, around millennials, and they'll start singing it back to you. But not just millennials. Gen Xers have bought into this. The younger generations have bought into this. This song is one of those songs that defined a time. People like to say, Smells Like Teen Spirit defined the 90s. Okay. This song defined the 2000s in many ways. So yeah, Welcome to the Black Parade. Now, before I give you the last one, take a pause, hit subscribe, hit like, hit that little bell so you can find out when new things are coming. For me, probably and I've said this before, so this is not a huge surprise, but for me, the song that has had the most impact on me as a songwriter, as a musician, maybe even as a person, I don't know, is Robert Cray, Right Next Door, Because of Me. There's something so brilliant about its simplicity. And there's one line that's always jumped out to me. It's like, you've got this guy who's been fooling around with the neighbor's wife, and he can hear the two of them fighting next door in the house, yelling about it. And then suddenly he's listening in and he hears his name said, and he's like, shit, it's over. It's done. I'm caught. And the terror of what's going to come next. But for me, the line that really jumps out, the best line in this whole song is like, she was just another notch on my guitar. That it's destroying this marriage. It's destroying this partnership, this love affair that these two had. And for him, it's just, another conquest. The brilliance of that is I cannot state it enough. If you've never heard Robert Cray's Right Next Door, Because of Me, after you go, search it up, go find it. Anyway, those are the 10 songs that today I would say have had the biggest impact on me as a musician, as a songwriter. Ask me again tomorrow, they might change. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for giving it a listen. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Much love to you. And come on back. I got a whole lot more of this stuff for you.